The great hall of Vareth Prime was full of light and noise. Representatives from 847 different species had gathered for the Centennial Summit. This happened once every 100 years. It was the most important meeting in the galaxy. Ambassador Talon walked slowly through the crowd. She was tall and thin, with silver skin that reflected the lights above. She belonged to the Merethi Collective, one of the older civilizations in the galaxy. She had attended many of these summits before. As she moved toward her seat, her eyes stopped on something familiar. There, in the corner of the great hall, sat an empty chair. It had been empty for 200 years. A small sign in front of it read, Earth. Talon shook her head and smiled sadly. 2 centuries ago, the Galactic Assembly had sent an invitation to a small blue planet in a distant arm of the galaxy. The creatures there called themselves humans. They had just discovered how to split atoms. They were primitive, violent, and afraid. But the Assembly believed in giving every species a chance. The humans never replied. Still looking at that empty seat? A deep voice asked from behind her. Talon turned to see Elder Counselor Bavik of the Yanari Dominion. He was large and covered in thick brown fur. His people were one of the founding species of the Assembly. They were proud of this fact and reminded everyone often. It makes me wonder, Talon said. What happened to them? Bavik laughed. It was not a kind laugh. What happened? They destroyed themselves, of course. We sent that invitation during their nuclear age. They'd probably burned their world to ash within a decade. Primitive species always do. Perhaps, Talon said quietly. There is no perhaps, Bavik replied. I remember reading about them. They fought wars over small pieces of land. They poisoned their own air and water. They killed each other over the color of their skin. Such creatures were never going to survive. Other delegates nearby nodded in agreement. The empty chair had become a joke among the Assembly. Some called it the Chair of Fools. Others said it should be removed entirely. Why keep a seat for a species that no longer existed? The summit began with the sound of a great bell. All delegates took their seats. The lights dimmed and the central platform rose from the floor. On it stood High Speaker Vareth, a being made almost entirely of light. The station was named after his species. Welcome, High Speaker Vareth said, his voice reaching every corner of the hall. We gather today to discuss a matter of great importance. The Harrow Tide approaches. A murmur spread through the crowd. Everyone knew about the Harrow Tide. It was a massive energy storm that swept through the galaxy every 3,000 years. It destroyed everything in its path. Planets, stations, entire fleets. Nothing could survive its fury. Our scientists estimate the Harrow Tide will reach the outer systems in 5 years, the High Speaker continued. We must decide how to protect our civilizations. The debate began immediately. Representatives shouted over each other. Smaller civilizations begged for help. They did not have the resources to build shelters strong enough. The Vuthrani Empire will protect its own, declared High Commander Sarath. He was a tall creature with 4 arms and skin like dark metal. His people controlled a quarter of the known galaxy. We will not waste our resources on weaker species, but millions will die, cried a small delegate from the Fenari system. Her people numbered only a few billion. They had no fleet, no advanced technology. They were farmers and poets. Then, they should have built better ships, Sarath replied coldly. Ambassador Talon felt anger rise in her chest. This was always how it went. The strong protected themselves. The weak were left to suffer. The Assembly talked about unity and cooperation, but when true danger came, every species thought only of itself. She was about to speak when something strange happened. Every light in the great hall flickered. The floor trembled slightly. Then, From stations all around the hall, alarms began to sound. Gravitational alert. Someone shouted. Something massive has dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Where? Demanded High Commander Sereth. Directly above us. The delegates rushed to the observation platforms. Great windows lined the upper walls of the hall. Through them, the stars had always shone bright and beautiful. But now, the stars were disappearing. A shadow was spreading across the sky. It grew larger and larger, blocking out the light from distant suns. It was so big that Talon's mind could not understand what she was seeing at first thought. It was a ship. But no ship had ever been this large. It was the size of a small moon. Its hull stretched beyond the edges of the windows. And along its sides, burning bright like captured stars, were 1,000 engines. What is that? Bavik whispered. For the first time in Talon's memory, the elder counselor sounded afraid that no one answered. No one could. The ship hung in space like a sleeping giant. It made no aggressive moves. It simply waited. Then, after a long moment of terrible silence, a communication signal reached the station. A voice spoke. It was calm and clear. It spoke in perfect galactic common, the shared language of the assembly. This is Captain Unipark of the Earth vessel Gyeongshin, representing the United Earth Fleet. We apologize for our late arrival. May we join the summit? The hall exploded into chaos. Delegates shouted questions. Some screamed in fear. Others simply stared at the impossible ship above them. Ambassador Talon looked back at the empty chair in the corner. After 200 years of silence, Earth had finally arrived. But they had not come as primitive survivors. They had not come begging for help or asking for shelter from the Howard Tide. They had come with a ship larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. They had come with 1,000 engines burning like suns. And somewhere deep in her heart, Talon understood that everything was about to change. Elder Bavik stood frozen beside her. His earlier confidence had disappeared completely. He tried to speak twice before any words came out. That is impossible, he finally said. That ship is impossible. But the impossible ship remained. Its shadow covered the station like a blanket. Its engines continued to burn. And somewhere inside it, the humans were waiting for an answer. High Speaker Vereth stepped forward. His light flickered with uncertainty. For 1,000 years, he had led these summits. He had seen empires rise and fall, but he had never seen anything like this. Earth vessel, he said slowly. You are welcome to join the summit. The great hall fell silent. 847 species held their breath. 200 years of jokes and laughter about the empty chair suddenly felt foolish. The humans had finally come, and they had brought something the galaxy had never imagined. Captain Unipark stood on the bridge of the Gyeongshin and watched the alien station below. It looked so small from up here. The great meeting place of the galaxy, where empires decided the fate of billions, was barely a dot against the darkness of space. They have accepted our request to join, said Commander Do Hwan Kang. He stood beside her, his hands clasped behind his back. He was a serious man with gray at his temples. He had served on the Gyeongshin for 30 years. Good, Yuna replied. Prepare a holographic transmission. I want to address the assembly directly. Yes, Captain. The bridge was busy with activity. Hundreds of crew members worked at their stations. Screens showed data from every part of the massive ship. The Gyeongshin was home to 2 million people. It was not just a vessel. It was a city in space. Yun took a deep breath. This moment had been planned for 2 centuries. Her grandmother had helped design the first ships. Her mother had commanded the early construction crews. Now, the duty fell to her. The holographic projector activated. Yuna's image appeared in the great hall of Vareth Prime, standing tall before 847 species. Members of the Galactic Assembly, she began. I am Captain Unipark. On behalf of the people of Earth, I bring greetings. The delegates stared at her in silence. She could see their confusion, their fear, and their wonder. She understood. The galaxy had written humanity off as dead. Finding them alive was shock enough. Finding them with technology beyond anything known was almost too much to accept. 200 years ago, you sent us an invitation, Una continued. We received it. We were grateful for it. But we could not accept it. Not yet. Why? Demanded a voice from the crowd. It was High Commander Sereth of the Vethrani Empire. His 4 arms were crossed, and his face showed only anger. Why did you ignore us for 2 centuries? We did not ignore you, Una said. We were busy preparing. She gestured to Commander Kang. A holographic display appeared in the center of the Great Hall. It showed Earth as it had been 200 years ago. Blue oceans, green lands, cities covering the surface. When we received your invitation, we also detected something else, Una explained. Our scientists discovered the Harrow Tide. We calculated its path. We understood that it would destroy everything in its way. The display changed. It showed humans building. First, small stations in orbit around Earth, then larger facilities around the Moon, then massive shipyards circling Jupiter. We had a choice, Una said. We could join the galaxy as we were, weak, primitive, begging for protection. Or we could wait. We could build. We could become something more. The display showed the first great ship taking shape. Its skeleton was larger than any structure humanity had ever built. Millions of workers floated around it like insects around a hive. We chose to build. Ambassador Tellon watched with her mouth open. The scale of what she was seeing was beyond belief. These humans had not just survived. They had transformed their entire civilization into a construction project. For 200 years, we worked, Una continued. We mined asteroids. We captured comets for water. We built engines that your scientists said were impossible. We made shields designed to survive the Harrow Tide itself. The display showed the completed Gyeongshin. Then it pulled back, and back, and back, until the view showed not one ship, but 50. 50 vessels the size of small moons, their engines burning bright. The Gyeongshin is not alone, Una said. We are the flagship of the United Earth Fleet. 50 ships. Each one carries enough shielding technology to protect an entire planetary system. The hall erupted into chaos. Delegates screamed questions. Some demanded proof. Others simply stared in shock. Chief Engineer Myre Song appeared beside the captain's hologram. She was a small woman with kind eyes and oil stains on her uniform. She had spent her whole life building these ships. The shield generators use contained singularities, Myre explained. Tiny black holes held in magnetic bottles. They produce more power than 1,000 stars. With this power, we can project barriers strong enough to stop the Harrow Tide. Impossible, said one of the Vethrani scientists. Containing a singularity would require technology centuries beyond anything we possess. We know, Myre said simply. That is why we spent 2 centuries developing it. Elder Counselor Bavek pushed through the crowd. His earlier arrogance was completely gone. He looked like a child seeing the ocean for the first time. Why? He asked. Why would you do this? You could have used this technology to conquer the galaxy. Why build shields? Why prepare to protect others? Lieutenant Taeyeon Choi stepped forward on the bridge. He was young, barely 30 years old. He had been born on the Gyeongshin and had never set foot on Earth. Because that is who we are, Taeyeon said. Our history is full of darkness, war, cruelty, hate, but it is also full of people who chose to help others. People who ran into danger instead of away from it. People who gave everything to protect strangers. He looked directly at the elder counselor. We did not build these ships to rule the galaxy. We built them so that when the Harrow Tide comes, no one has to face it alone. Silence fell over the great hall. Even High Commander Sareth had no words. Ambassador Talon stepped forward. Her silver skin glowed softly in the light from the holographic display. You spent 200 years preparing to save civilizations that mocked you, she said. Civilizations that called you extinct. That laughed at your empty chair. Captain Unipark smiled. It was a warm smile, without any bitterness. We heard the laughter, she admitted. It reached us eventually, but it did not change our purpose. We knew what was coming. We knew we could help. So we built. But the cost, Talon said. The sacrifice? Generations of your people devoted their lives to this project. Generations who would never see the result. Yes, Yuna agreed. My grandmother died building the first shipyard. My mother never saw the fleet completed. I may not live to see the Harrow Tide defeated. But my children will. And they will live in a galaxy that survived because humanity chose to help. Navigator Yunji Wang looked up from her station. Captain, I am receiving requests from dozens of species. They want to come aboard. They want to see the ships for themselves. Yuna nodded. Let them come. Let them see everything. We have no secrets. She turned back to the assembly. We did not come to rule you. We did not come to judge you. We came because the storm is coming, and we have the power to stop it. All we ask is that you let us help. High Speaker Verith floated forward on his platform of light. Earth, he said slowly, on behalf of the Galactic Assembly, I welcome you. Your seat has waited long enough. The empty chair in the corner suddenly seemed very important. For 200 years, it had been a joke. Now, it was a symbol of something else entirely. Patience, preparation, purpose. The humans had arrived. And they had brought hope with them. The shuttle from Vareth Prime docked with the Gyeongshin 3 hours after Captain Park's announcement. Inside were representatives from 30 different species. They had demanded to see the human ship with their own eyes. Ambassador Talon was among them. So was Elder Counselor Bavik, and at the front of the group, his forearms crossed in suspicion, stood High Commander Sareth of the Vethrani Empire. The airlock opened. A young officer stood waiting for them. His name was Taeyun Choi, the same lieutenant who had spoken during the transmission. Welcome aboard the Gyeongshin, he said with a slight bow. Please follow me. The delegates stepped onto the human ship. Immediately, they understood that the holographic images had not prepared them for the reality. The corridor stretched before them, for what seemed like forever. The ceiling rose high above, disappearing into soft artificial clouds. Trees lined the walkway. Real trees, growing from real soil. Birds flew between the branches. The air smelled of flowers and fresh rain. This is impossible, whispered one of the Finari delegates. This is a garden, not a ship. The Gyeongshin is home to 2 million people, Taeyun explained as he walked. They live, work, and raise families here. We wanted to give them a good life, not just survival. They passed through residential areas where children played in parks, schools where young humans studied, markets where people traded goods and shared meals. It was a complete civilization, floating through the stars. Ambassador Talon stopped at a window. Through it, she could see one of the engine cores. It burned with light so bright that special filters protected her eyes. How? She asked. How did you build this? Chief Engineer Mire Song appeared beside her. The small woman smiled and pointed at the burning core. Inside that chamber is a singularity. A black hole smaller than an atom, but heavier than a mountain. It consumes matter and releases energy. More energy than anything else in the universe. But the containment, Talon said. The magnetic fields required would be enormous. They are, Myra agreed. It took us 60 years just to develop the mathematics. Another 40 to build the first working prototype. Many people died in the testing. Many more gave their entire lives to research that they knew would not bear fruit until after they were gone. Elder Counselor Babbitt listened in silence. His people, the Yenari, were considered masters of engineering. They had built the first faster-than-light drives. They had created the communication network that connected the galaxy. But this was beyond anything they had imagined. You could have shared this with us earlier, Babbitt said. You could have asked for help. We considered it, said a new voice. They turned to see Dr. Jisoo Han, the chief medical officer. She was an older woman with gray hair and gentle eyes. She had served on the ship for 50 years. But we were afraid, she admitted. Not of you, exactly. We were afraid of what your technology might do to us. Your weapons. Your methods of control. We were still a young species. If we had joined the galaxy then, we might have become like everyone else. Fighting over territory. Building weapons instead of shields. She looked at the delegates with something like sadness. We wanted to become something better first. We wanted to arrive as helpers, not conquerors. High Commander Sareth finally spoke. His voice was cold. A pretty story, but I do not believe it. Everyone turned to look at him. The Vethrani commander stood tall, his dark metallic skin reflecting the lights. No species builds technology like this without planning to use it, Sareth continued. You say you want to protect the galaxy. I say you want to control it. These shields can block the Harrowtide, yes, but they can also block our weapons, our ships, our trade routes. Captain Unipark stepped forward. She had been watching from a distance, letting her crew show the visitors around. But now she approached the Vethrani commander directly. High Commander, she said calmly, if we wanted to conquer the galaxy, we would not need shields. We would need weapons. And we have those too. Sarath's eyes narrowed. You threaten me? No, Una replied. I state a fact. Our ships carry weapons powerful enough to crack planets. We developed them to destroy large asteroids that threatened our construction projects. We could use them for war, but we choose not to. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared between them. It showed detailed blueprints of the shield generators, the engine cores, and the ship's main systems. Here, Una said. Everything. Every piece of technology we developed. We will share it freely with any species that wants it. No conditions. No payment. No treaties required. Sareth stared at the blueprints. His forehands trembled slightly. You would give away your greatest advantage? It was never meant to be an advantage, Una said. It was meant to be a gift. The Harrowtide does not care about borders or empires. It will destroy everyone equally. The only way to survive is to work together. The other delegates murmured among themselves. The Fanari wept openly. Even Babbitt seemed moved, but Sarath's face grew harder. The Vethrani Empire does not accept gifts. We do not need human charity, and we will not allow you to position yourself as saviors of the galaxy. He turned and walked back toward the airlock. At the entrance, he stopped and looked back. You have made a mistake, humans. You have shown us your power. Now we know what we must take from you. He left. The airlock closed behind him. Ambassador Talon felt a chill run through her. She had known Sareth for many years. He was proud and dangerous. The Vethrani Empire had conquered dozens of species who refused to submit to their rule. Captain Park, she said quietly. "You should know that Sareth commands the largest fleet in the galaxy. If he sees you as a threat, he will act." Yuna nodded slowly. "I know. We expected resistance. Not everyone wants to be helped. What will you do?" The captain looked out the window at the burning engine core. Its light reflected in her dark eyes. "We will do what we came to do," she said. "We will protect the galaxy from the Harrow Tide. All of it. Even the parts that hate us." 3 hours later, long-range sensors detected movement at the edge of the system. 300 Vethrani warships had begun to mobilize. Commander Kang delivered the report to the bridge. His face was grim. "They are forming an attack formation. They will arrive in 6 hours." Yuna sat in her command chair. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly. They had trained for this possibility. They had hoped it would not come. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "All ships prepare for contact. But no one fires unless I give the command." "Captain," Kang said carefully, "our weapons could destroy their fleet in minutes. Why let them get close?" Yuna was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft but firm. "Because we did not come here to fight. We came here to save lives. Even theirs." The Vethrani fleet drew closer. On the bridge of the Gyeongshin, 2 million people prepared for what was coming. The humans had arrived with hope. Now they would discover if hope was enough. The Vethrani fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel like a swarm of angry insects. 300 warships spread across the darkness of space. Their weapons glowed hot, ready to fire. On the bridge of the Gyeongshin, navigator Yunji Wang tracked their approach on her screens. "They are taking attack positions around the station," she reported. "They will have us surrounded in 20 minutes. Captain Yuna Park stood at the center of the bridge. Her face was calm, but her hands were tight fists at her sides. She had known this might happen. She had hoped it would not. "Open a channel to the Vethrani flagship," she ordered. The main screen flickered. High Commander Sareth appeared, sitting on his command throne. His forearms rested on the arms of his chair. Behind him, his crew worked at stations covered in strange symbols. "Captain Park," Sareth said. His voice was cold but polite. "I have come to make you an offer. I am listening. Surrender the Gyeongshin and all of your technology. Your people will not be harmed. You will be given a small colony world where you can live out your lives in peace. This is generous. Accept it." Yuna did not hesitate. "No." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "You refuse?" "I refuse. The technology does not belong to you. It does not belong to us either. It belongs to everyone who needs it. We will not surrender it to any empire." "Then you leave me no choice." Sareth leaned forward. "Your shields may be strong, but they are not infinite. My fleet will wear you down. When your power fails, we will take what we need." "You could do that," Yuna agreed. "But while you attack us, who will protect your worlds from the Harrow Tide?" "The Harrow Tide is years away. We have time. Do you?" Yuna turned to Commander Kang. "Show him." A holographic display appeared between them. It showed a massive wave of energy moving through space. The Harrow Tide. Its leading edge burned with colors that hurt to look at. "Our sensors detected this 3 hours ago," Yuna explained. "The Harrow Tide is moving faster than anyone predicted. Its leading edge will reach this sector in less than 48 hours. Sarath's face changed. For just a moment, fear flickered in his eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by anger. "You are lying. This is a trick to make us stop our attack. Check your own sensors. You will see the same thing." On the Vethrani flagship, officers rushed to verify the data. Minutes passed. When they reported back to Sareth, his expression darkened. "It seems you were telling the truth," he admitted. But this changes nothing. If the storm is coming sooner, then your technology is even more valuable. Surrender now, and my scientists can begin adapting it for our use. There is no time for that, Yuna said. Your scientists do not understand our systems. It would take them years to learn. By then, everything will be destroyed. Then teach us. Give us the knowledge freely. I offered to do exactly that. You refused. Sareth slammed one of his fists against his throne. I will not accept charity from humans. Then millions will die because of your pride. The channel went silent. For a long moment, nothing happened. The two fleets hung in space, waiting. Then the Vethrani opened fire. Energy beams streaked across the void. They struck the Gyeongxian's shields and exploded into cascades of light. The ship shook, but the shields held. Damage report, Yuna demanded. Shields at 98%, reported Chief Engineer Myri Song from the engine room. Their weapons are strong, but our barriers are stronger. We can take this for hours. They know that, Commander Kang said. This is not meant to destroy us. It is meant to drain our power before the Harrow tide arrives. Yuna understood. The Vethrani were smart. They could not break through the shields quickly. But if they kept firing, the Gyeongxin would have to choose between defending itself and protecting the station when the storm came. Captain, Lieutenant Taehyun Choi said from his station, we could end this now. One shot from our main weapons would cripple their flagship. The rest would retreat. No. But Captain, no, Yuna repeated firmly. We did not build weapons to kill people. We built them to protect people. Even him. Even Sareth. The bombardment continued. The Gyeongxin trembled under blow after blow. In the residential sections, families gathered together. Parents held their children. Everyone knew what was happening. On Verith Prime, the delegates watched in horror. Ambassador Talon could not believe what she was seeing. The humans refused to fight back. They simply absorbed the attack, shield flaring with each impact. Why do they not fire? Elder Counselor Bavik asked. They could destroy the entire Vethrani fleet. Because they meant what they said, Talon replied quietly. They came to save everyone, even the ones attacking them. After 2 hours of bombardment, Yuna made a decision. Signal the fleet, she ordered. All ships, prepare Shield Protocol Omega. Commander Kang's eyes widened. Captain, that protocol was designed for the Harrow tide. If we deploy it now, we may not have enough power when the storm arrives. I know. Do it anyway. The order went out. All 50 human vessels began to move. They spread out in a careful pattern, surrounding the station and all the ships in the area, including the Vethrani fleet. Then, together, they activated their shield generators. A barrier of pure energy expanded outward. It grew and grew, stretching beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Within minutes, it had enclosed the entire sector. Every ship, every station, every delegate was now inside the bubble, including the Vethrani. Hi, Commander Sareth watched in shock as the barrier passed over his fleet. His weapons could not penetrate it from inside any more than they could from outside. What have you done? He demanded over the communication channel. I have saved your life, Yuna replied. Look behind you. Sareth turned. Through the rear viewport of his flagship, he could see it now. The Harrow tide. Its leading edge was visible, a wall of destroying light rushing toward them at impossible speed. They had run out of time. The storm hit the shield like a hammer hitting glass. The entire barrier flashed bright white. Every ship inside shuddered. Alarms screamed on every vessel. Shield status, Yuna called out. Holding, Myri reported from engineering. But the power drain is enormous. We are losing generators on ships 7, 12, and 23. Tell them to hold. Whatever it takes, they have to hold. The crew of the Gyeongshin worked with desperate speed. Yoonji Wang made constant adjustments to the shield geometry. Narration rerouted power from every non-essential system. Tae and Choi coordinated with the other ships, keeping the formation tight. Outside the barrier, the Harrow tide raged. It was everything the legends said and more. Energy that could tear stars apart. Forces that could crush planets to dust. It hammered against the shield with the fury of an angry god, but the shield held Dot inside the barrier. The Vethrani fleet floated in stunned silence. They had been attacking the humans moments ago. Now the humans were the only thing keeping them alive. High Commander Sereth stared at the destruction beyond the shield. His pride, his empire, his plans, none of it mattered now. If the barrier fell, everyone would die. "Captain Park," he said over the communication channel. His voice was different now, smaller. "What can we do?" Yuna looked at the screen. Her face was tired but determined. "Hold on," she said simply, "and hope we were strong enough." The storm continued. The shield burned, and somewhere in the darkness, the hull of the Gyeongshin began to buckle under the strain. The Harrow tide had been raging for 68 hours. Inside the shield, the galaxy's most powerful civilizations huddled together like children in a storm. They could do nothing but watch and wait. On the bridge of the Gyeongshin, Captain Yuna Park had not slept since the storm began. Her eyes were red with exhaustion. Her voice was hoarse from giving orders. But she remained at her post. "Status report," she demanded for the 100th time. Commander Do Wan Kang pulled up the fleet display. His face was grim. "Ships 7, 12, and 23 have gone dark. Their generators overloaded. We have lost contact with their crews." Yuna closed her eyes. 3 ships. Each one home to millions of people. Families, children, engineers who had dedicated their lives to this mission. Total casualties? Estimated 47,000. The number hung in the air. 47,000 people who would never see the stars again. 47,000 who had died protecting civilizations that had laughed at their empty chair. "Chief," Engineer Myre Song's voice crackled over the intercom. She was still in the engine room, covered in grease and burns from electrical fires. "Captain, the main generator is failing. We have maybe 4 more hours before total collapse." "How long until the storm passes?" Navigator Yoonji Wang checked her calculations. 6 hours. Maybe more. The math was simple and terrible. They were going to fall short. Yuna stood up from her chair. "Signal all ships. Prepare to transfer remaining power to the Gyeongshin. We will form the final barrier with our ship alone." "Captain," Kang said, "that will destroy us. The power surge will tear the ship apart. I know. 2 million people, Captain. Your family is on board." "Everyone's family is on board somewhere," Yuna replied. "And if we do not hold, everyone dies. Not just us, everyone." Before Kang could argue further, a new signal came through. It was High Commander Sereth of the Vethrani. "Captain Park," Sereth said. His voice had changed completely over the past 3 days. The arrogance was gone. The cruelty was gone. Only exhaustion and something like respect remained. "We have been monitoring your communications. We understand what you are planning. Then, you understand why I must do it." "Yes," Sereth paused. "But perhaps there is another way." He transmitted data to the Gyeongshian's computers. Kang analyzed it quickly. His eyes widened. "Captain, the Vethrani are offering to transfer power from their ships to ours. They have been running calculations. If every ship in the sector contributes, we might have enough." "Every ship?" Yuna asked. "Every ship. Vethrani, Mirathi, Yanari, everyone. Together. The communication channel expanded. Ambassador Talon appeared. So did Elder Counselor Bavik and dozens of other leaders from dozens of other species. "We have been talking," Talon said. "All of us. For the first time in the history of the Assembly, we have actually talked to each other. Not about territory or trade or power. About survival. About what matters." Bavik stepped forward. The old Yanari's fur was matted with sweat and stress. "You came here to save us. We laughed at you. We attacked you. And still you held the shield. Still you protected us. Now," Sarah said, "let us protect you. For once in our miserable history, let us do something worthy." Yuna looked at the faces on the screen. Species that had been enemies for millennia. Empires that had fought wars over minor insults. All of them standing together. "Send the power," she said. "Let us end this together." The transfer began. Energy flowed from every ship in the sector into the Gyeongxian's shield generators. Bethrani warships went dark as they gave up their reserves. Mirathi transports shut down everything except life support. Even the small Fenari vessels contributed what little they had. The shield flared brighter than ever before. It pushed back against the Harrow Tide with combined strength of the entire galaxy. For 2 more hours they held. The storm screamed against the barrier. Ships shook and systems failed. But no one gave up. No one surrendered. And then, finally, it was over. The Harrow Tide passed. Its fury moved on to empty space beyond the sector. Behind it, the shield flickered and died. Its purpose complete. Silence fell across the fleet. Captain Yuna Park sat in her chair. Tears ran down her face. Around her, the bridge crew wept openly. They had done it. They had survived. But the cost had been enormous. In the hours that followed, the true price became clear. 3 human ships had been destroyed. 47,000 crew members had died. The Gyeongxin herself was badly damaged. Her hull scarred and her systems failing. Memorial services were held across the fleet. On the Gyeongxin, the survivors gathered in the great garden at the ship's heart. Trees that had survived the storm stretched toward artificial sunlight. Flowers bloomed among the wreckage. Captain Park stood at a podium. In her hands, she held a list of names. Every person who had died. Every life that had been given for the galaxy's survival. She began to read. It took 3 hours. When she finished, her voice was barely a whisper. The delegates of the Galactic Assembly watched in silence. Many wept. Even High Commander Sarath's metallic face showed something like grief. When the ceremony ended, High Speaker Verith approached Captain Park. His form of light had dimmed with sorrow. "Captain," he said, "the Assembly has voted unanimously. We wish to offer humanity the central seat. The Founder's position. You have earned it." Yuna shook her head. No. We did not come here to lead. We came here to help. Give us a seat among equals. Nothing more." She gestured to the burned hull of her ship, to the makeshift repairs holding it together. "Besides, we have a lot of rebuilding to do. We could use some help ourselves." Elder Counselor Baddock stepped forward. "Then let us help. The Enery will send engineers. Our best people. The Mirathi will provide materials," Ambassador Talon added. "Whatever you need. And the Vethrani," Sarah said heavily, "will provide protection while you rebuild. It is the least we can do." One by one, the species spoke. Each offered something. Ships, resources, workers, knowledge. The galaxy that had ignored humanity for 2 centuries now rushed to support them. Dr. Jisoo Han, the chief medical officer, watched this with tears in her eyes. "This is what we wanted," she said to Lieutenant Taein Choi. "Not shields or technology. This, unity, cooperation. A galaxy that works together." Taehyun nodded. Was it worth it? The 47,000? Jisoo was quiet for a long moment. I do not know. I hope so. I have to believe so. Otherwise, what was the point? In the weeks that followed, construction began on a new project. Not human ships this time, but a joint fleet. Engineers from every species worked side by side in human shipyards. They learned from each other. They argued. They laughed. They built. Captain Yuna Park stood at the viewport of the repaired Gyeongshin. She watched alien and human workers floating together among the stars. Vethrani and Fanari cooperating on engine designs. Yenari teaching Merethi new construction techniques. Species that had never spoken now sharing meals and stories. Commander Kang joined her at the window. The assembly has announced a permanent memorial, he said, at the site where our 3 ships fell. Every species will send representatives every year to honor our dead. Yuna nodded slowly. And the next Harrowtide? 3,000 years away. But the assembly is already planning. They want to build a network of shield stations throughout the galaxy. No one will ever face the storm alone again. Yuna smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. That is all we ever wanted, she said. Not power, not glory. Just to know that when the darkness comes, we will face it together. Outside the viewport, the construction continued. New ships took shape in the light of distant stars. Human designs merged with alien innovations. Something new was being born. They had missed every meeting. They had been mocked and forgotten. They had arrived with ships so large they blocked out the sky. But in the end, what they had brought was not weapons or shields or impossible technology. It was hope. It was unity. It was a future where the galaxy was not a collection of enemies, but a family. And as Captain Yuna Park watched her people work alongside the species they had saved, she knew that every sacrifice had been worth it. They had arrived exactly when it mattered, and the galaxy would never be the same.